Let's go to those New York Giants. Take a look at the draft class. Malik Neighbors, as we know, goes in the first round. Tyler Nubin, safety out of Minnesota. Drew Phillips, corner out of Kentucky. Theo Johnson, tight end, Penn State. Tyrone Tracy, running back out of Purdue. And Darius Muaso, is that how you say it? Linebacker out of UCLA.
Honestly, still don't know how to say it. Still trying to figure that one out.
Okay. So initial takeaways. I know the last time we spoke was after the Malik Neighbors pick. We're very excited about Malik Neighbors to the New York Giants, but how about the rest of the class?
Yeah, one thing I'm happy the Giants didn't do was draft a quarterback outside of the first round. Obviously, everybody knows I wanted one in the first round. I wanted them to trade up for Drake May. They tried to, it just didn't work out. But if they would have went for a Spencer Rattler or Joe Milton between rounds 3 to 7, I would have been upset. I would have viewed that as almost a burnt and wasted draft pick that handcuffs you in the future. And so that's one thing that I'm going to praise Joe Schoen on. He had his guy that he wanted at the quarterback position. And when he couldn't get that guy, he didn't force it. And I think that is very important, not to force it on a Rattler again in the third round. Let's just use him as an example. I know he went round 5, but a lot of Giants fans were pushing for him to be drafted in round 2, which was just ridiculous and would have been terrible value. So if the Giants would have went after a guy like a Spencer Rattler, then you end up in a situation similar to what I believe the Atlanta Falcons were in with Desmond Ridder, and they kind of handcuffed themselves and they weren't able to really develop their roster and find the QB the way that they wanted to. Now, obviously, things have changed. They got Kirk Cousins and even Michael Penix, which is crazy. But just the idea of forcing your team to stick with this mid-round quarterback because you think he has this upside is something that really scares me. So I'm happy the Giants didn't go in that direction. And then overall with this draft class, there's a lot of value in the first round selection, the second round selection. I really like the fourth round selection of Theo Johnson, the tight end. And I even think there's a lot of upside in Tyrone Tracy, the running back out of Purdue in round 5. So there are a lot of spots in this class that I'm excited by. I think there could have been better value on the board in a couple of those positions, but overall feeling good about Joe Schoen's draft class here.
Yeah, same thing. I really like Tyler Nubin was a borderline first round pick for a lot of people. So being able to land him when they did in the second round, I think was good value. And, unfortunately, you lose a really good safety in free agency, but able to bring one in who I think is going to have a really good shot to play right away and play some significant reps here. One of my favorite picks from this draft class is Theo Johnson, the tight end at a Penn State. A lot of questions about Darren Waller and his future with the New York Giants. Unfortunately, that one doesn't seem like it's going to be working out long term. But Theo, I think, is someone who could come in and give you some production right away. I'm not saying he's going to come in and be an 1,000-yard tight end, but can he come in and compete as a tight end too with some upside in year one and potentially develop from there? I think so. I really liked some of his tape at Penn State. One of the better tight ends in this class, and being able to land him where they did, I think was a good pick for New York.
Yeah, I actually think we could end up seeing Theo Johnson be a starter on this team this season. Maybe not, by week 1, but by week 8, I think Theo Johnson has that ability. One of the things that I love about that selection in particular, you mentioned it with Darren Waller. Will he be here? Will he not be? I am going to assume that he won't be. I think he will end up retiring. And at this point, even if he doesn't, the Giants need to just consider releasing him because I don't know about his commitment level and his level of productivity if he does play this season. But anyway, I digress on that. Theo Johnson's playing style is very similar to Darren Waller and what he brings to the table. So there's a little bit of continuity within the scheme that you can maintain, because you've got a lot of plays drawn up in this offense for Darren Waller. And Daniel Bellinger is just not the same athlete. He doesn't have the same playing style. His strengths are not the same strengths as Darren Waller. So our backup tight end, Daniel Bellinger, that is, you can't really ask him to do the exact same things that you would ask of Darren Waller. But with Theo Johnson, playing style is very similar. Athleticism is very similar. So he can run that Darren Waller role and play in that capacity. Now, I'm not saying he's the same talent level or he's going to be just as good, but he can do those same things. So you can ask him to play that Darren Waller role, which I think is great and keeps some continuity for Theo Johnson. And he's also an underrated blocker. And this is important because you've got Daniel Bellinger, who's a very good blocker, but last season, Daniel Bellinger was pretty much just stuck playing as an extra offensive tackle because of how bad our offensive line was. But Theo Johnson, you're not going to want him playing that role. So again, that's why he's probably going to be tight end 2 to start. But if this pass protecting unit for the Giants could start to hold up on its own without the chips from Bellinger or any other tight ends or fullbacks, whoever, I think Theo Johnson can start to get on the field a lot in 11 personnel, be that pass catching tight end that the Giants wanted Darren Waller to be, and make some pretty good plays. So I really like the potential of Theo Johnson, and I do think that he should be a starter on this team within his first 2 seasons.
Yeah, and I mean that's great if you're able to find someone on day 3 who ends up becoming a starter for you. And I do think that is a path for him. As you said, maybe not as at the beginning of the year in week 1, but as the season progresses, I think his playing time is only going to increase. Very talented kid. Wanted to get your thoughts on the running back Tyrone Tracy because, as you mentioned, it seemed like the Giants had something specific in mind when they were going running back in this draft.
Yeah, Tyrone Tracy is a very interesting selection. I think I'm doing a full breakdown on him on Fireside Giants later today with Alex. But one of the things that I like about Tyrone Tracy, receiving ability, he is a wide receiver converted to running back at Purdue. One of the things I don't like is age. He is up there. I think he's already 25, maybe 26. I know that it's a high enough age to make you feel concerned with Tyrone Tracy. But you got to love the way that he played in his small sample size because he only played running back this past season. I think he had 114 carries, but he had 46 missed tackles. The guy is a tackle breaking machine, and I liken him in a way to Malachi Corley. Malachi Corley, I think, was running back converted to receiver, if I'm not mistaken, and he's got that tackle breaking ability. He's got that make plays in space ability. Tyrone Tracy, the same thing, just in the opposite way, was wide receiver. So he's got the ability to run routes better than most running backs. He's very shifty in that regard. He's got good hands. But then they put him in the backfield at Purdue, and he was able to make plays and be a very efficient runner there. So I think that there is a lot of dynamic ability to what Tracy can do in this offense. And behind Devin Singletary, it's basically Tracy and last year's 5th-round pick, Eric Gray, and not a whole lot else. So he's got an opportunity to be RB2